Hey future Edward, the script to this video journal entry was written on July of 2018, and at this point of the year I have finally reached the point where I am mentally settled enough to sit down and write and make a video again. Although unfortunately this time around my diction won't be up to par to my previous journal entries, but because this journal entry is made after a year has passed since my last entry, please excuse my inadequate diction. From this point on, I'm going to just read the script I've written because that will speed up the recording process and also minimize the editing process. I usually like to recite my videos and also put in a lot of editing into my videos, but because I have a lot to talk about this time and I want to get this video uploaded before 2019, from this point on, I'm going to just read the script. You'll see my eyes going from left to right, left to right. So, here goes. Prior to this script, I have written 3 loosely structured yet also more detailed written entries about what have transpired between December of 2017 until July of 2018. But because I wanted to make a video out of it, I'm going to try to summarize all of it to the first part of this 2-part video journal entry. Pre-departure. On the 5th of December 2017, I received an email that notified me that I have failed in the last selection stage for the Maxed Scholarship Program, which was something I've worked for years to achieve. Here's a Reddit post I made as a cry for help, which is also the only written record that best encapsulated my devastation during the time. Before I received the email, due to months of unoccupancy, I was already in the middle of descending deeper into this rabbit hole of self-scrutiny, which I don't think is inherently bad, but for my case, I came to realize that so many aspects of my life were failing, and are still failing to date. It had been almost half a year since I graduated high school by then, and I lost contact with almost all of the people I knew in high school. So, so I realized that the social aspect of my life was failing, and then I realized that I was so bad at performing any physical tasks, even those that are only a little more demanding than picking up textbooks. So I am weak and underweight. So I realized that the physical aspect of my life was also not doing all that well. And so I kept thinking if I got selected to receive that scholarship, then the academic aspect of my life would be running well. Not that the acquisition of that scholarship was solely for the purpose of compensating my inferiorities, but that achievement alone would be significant enough that it could possibly be the only great achievement I have in my lifetime. So that failure, along with my concerns about my body and my social performances, and my lack of any other talents or specialties, made me feel so tormented in my own existence. And beyond that, I was so sad that the endeavor into which I've poured countless hours and very tremendous effort failed. Everything was for naught. Everything was for naught. I am not sure how to pronounce that word. And it made me feel so powerless. And because my situations were so miserable, I felt implored to fix it, and so I became determined to fix my life. And so I mainly listened to Howl and Blinding, both songs by Florence and the Machine, to serve as my battle cry, I suppose. And I was likening myself to Sebastian Castellanos from The Evil Within 2. I made this the background of my phone, and I was getting myself set to blast off to fight again once more to enter the fray. Despite having been so exhausted and devastated from my former campaign, I told myself that when I got to Japan, I have to study hard. I have to study as hard as I can, sleep well, go to the gym, make money, and don't waste time. So I asked my mother to change my departure for Japan from what originally was April of 2018 to the January of 2018. I will be going to Japan as a privately funded international student. I told my mother not to tell anybody except for my father and my sibling about my departure because my departure was not under favorable circumstances. It was solely because of my failure that I am departing for Japan as a privately funded international student. It is something to be mourned, not congratulated for. I too didn't tell any of the few friends from high school that remained in contact with me that I was leaving for Japan. Failing the selection for the scholarship was my own failure, and for this particular failure, I do not want people to claim sympathy for it. It was and is my own sorrow and my own missed opportunity, but of course, my mother went and told all her sisters and brothers, so many of my uncle and aunts came over to the house to congratulate me for going to Japan. Some gave me presents, some took me to dinner, and of course, I was averse to many of their presents. It was unpleasant. Since I made the decision to leave for Japan on January of 2018, there was only 2 weeks until the actual date of departure, so any preparations had to be done within that time frame. I sorted out all the belongings I have accumulated through the 18 years of living in Indonesia, packed all the things I needed to live in Japan into 2 suitcases, and I was also listening to God I Hope This Year is Better Than the Last by SYML, because then I was still so agonized by the thoughts of various aspects of my life failing, and on top of that, about how in the end I failed such a major pursuit, aka the maxed scholarship. So I wanted so much for 2018 to be the year when I start anew and make my life go well, and I was ready to work for it. And so I was sent off and departed for Japan under those circumstances. Arrival in Japan. It was January and it was in the winter. It was my first time experiencing winter. The first 3 months I stayed in Japan was with a tourist visa, so I couldn't register for a phone number, bank account, social security number, and health insurance, which all combined would pose as a big obstacle if I wanted to rent a housing property myself. I was then immediately introduced to my own dorm room, and it was disgusting. And it was disgusting. Mine in particular, it was disgusting. I asked to take a look at other people's dorm rooms, and mine was especially disgusting. It was really stressful because in a dirty environment, I am reluctant to do anything. I just wanted to keep myself clean. So I had to live there for 3 months, so I spent so much money deep cleaning the room and buying furnitures for the room and kitchen utensils and eating utensils too. I lost 300,000 yen in a month, and I had to live the next 2 months very frugally. My body, especially my skin, was so damaged because of the dirty environment I had to live in. So much itchy rash developed, and my skin to this day ended up being bumpy. And so, with that, my plans for the new year has been derailed. I couldn't use the money to eat a lot and gain weight and register for a gym membership. My start for a new life was sabotaged. It was really stressful because it was dirty and I couldn't do anything about it. And I stopped enjoying things that I previously took enjoyment in doing, like writing, making videos, drawing, and watercolor painting, since my environment did not allow for me to maintain even the very fundamental aspects of my daily life, like showering and oral hygiene and sleeping in a bed. So I was preoccupied with reclaiming those aspects of my life instead of being empowered to improve upon the lifestyle I previously had. In the end, moving to Japan made me have to work so much just to be able to execute the basic operations that constitute a decent life, and I spent months hating my existence and this way of living. I had to abandon almost all of the good qualities of my life I've cultivated and implemented because they are not accessible in such a reduced condition. My mental reservations, diligence, determination all became unavailable. My standards of cleanliness and even the quality of things that I use mostly became retarded. I had to wear a pajama for 2 weeks before I can change into a clean one because laundry was inaccessible and I only had two pairs of house clothes. I got fungus on my toenail because the bathroom was so disgusting and because I did not know there was any alternative to showering barefooted. And those are only a few examples of the damages I endured due to the filth and scarcity of the dorm. I've made a manifest detailing the complete harm done to me. I adopted the mindset of just go and worry about anything else later, and I'm not sure if it's beneficial or not, but it's hard to get rid of. Even until now, it still lingers. I also had to scramble to re establish all the fundamental cornerstones of my life. This included getting a phone number, social security number, bank account, and renting a house. April until May. After securing the contract for a new housing property, I immediately moved in. Enlisting the service of a moving company was too expensive in April in Japan, so my realtor helped me. He was so nice, but most of the things that I bought I threw away because I was too disgusted to continue using them. This included half of the clothes I brought from Indonesia and the sofa bed and desk I bought from IKEA, and cooking and eating utensils. So the 300,000 yen was a big waste of money. At this point, I had applied for a job in a restaurant in Umeda because I was broke, but I got accepted. I had also bought a washing machine and a rice cooker, but I couldn't afford rice by then. So I had to eat instant noodle every day for a few weeks up to a month, I think. So I was broke after paying for the initial fee of the apartment, a washing machine, and a rice cooker. I couldn't afford Wi Fi, so in my new housing facility, I only had the mattress from my sofa bed, a few clothes that I would wear repeatedly for a few weeks, and only my phone with 2 gigabytes of mobile data limit. For for a few weeks, things were hard because I was living with so little and I was hungry all the time. I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was too cold because I had no blanket and couldn't afford one. All the while, I still had spring break homework to complete, and you have to think about what to eat so I won't have to fast. And this time, even spending 100 yen was hard. At this point, studying was the last of my concern, but then after working for a few days, the restaurant gave food for me to bring home every day, and so I survived on workplace provision. It wasn't a lot, just enough for 2 meals. I didn't even have money to ride the train. During this period, I just hated the world and my existence in it. And I just kept hoping that something would happen to me that would wipe me off this world instantly. It was very depressing. I was living in poverty. After I went home after work, I listened to I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis and just cried every night. I've calculated that my money would last me exactly until my parents' visit at the beginning of May. I had to spare 1,000 yen to get to the airport, otherwise, they wouldn't know what to do after they've arrived. So when I arrived at the airport, I had absolutely no money left. But then I met my parents and they brought money, and so I was happy to have them pay for everything again. I ate so much after quite a period of poverty. They chose to stay in my apartment, which was too narrow for three people to live in, but they stayed anyway for 10 days. And before they left, they gave me money so I could buy a fridge, a microwave, also so I can subscribe to a Wi Fi service. And I was slowly able to rebuild my life from there on, although not quite yet to the standard of the life I had when I was still living in my parents' house. But I think I am slowly getting better, but all the while I remained quite depressed.